Welcome on, Colton.
Hello, Chase.
Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Anytime.
So I guess we could start off with how you got into pulling, because I know you're third generation puller, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so you want to tell us a little bit how you got started into pulling?
Yeah. So my grandfather had started in pulling. I believe it was like 1972, 4, 6, something like that. He pulled many years, and then my dad had started pulling. My uncle started pulling in the 1990s. My dad was actually the two-wheel drive rookie of the year, hooker of the year, and points champion for the Pennsylvania pullers in '91. That's how he got started. And then in 2005, they built the original Still City Smoker. And then next thing I know, I'm just drug right into it.
What age did you start pulling?
I was 16 when I started. My first hook was
Okay.
in the two-wheel drive pulling truck we have, the Still City Shaker, and that was at Brookville County Fair.
Okay. Wow. So you were fairly young when you started pulling then.
Yeah, yeah, I was. Yep, I was 16. I was pretty young and had no idea what I was doing, and now it's it's my lifestyle. It's consumed me.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've been working on haulers and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, as of right now, we're building living quarters in the hauler, full bedroom, full bathroom. Unfortunately, it takes away from some of the space in the trailer for the tractor and side by side stuff. But it'll be a little tight, but it'll be nice to actually have a nice place to sleep and shower and hang out to pools.
Yeah. And so you travel all over for pulls, right? I mean, I think you were signed up with East Coast and CS Pulling Promotions, correct?
Yep, this year we're signed with East Coast and CS Pulling Promotions. So our first hook is going to be in Tuckahoe, Maryland. That's in I think it's like 17 days. And then we get right back to Maryland again for Greensboro. And then we have two hooks with you in Smithfield and at Weaklands.
Okay. That's awesome. So you guys are gonna stay pretty busy then this summer.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're right about 14, 15 hooks this summer so far.
So back whenever your grandpa and your dad were pulling, how many hooks were they doing?
Uh, my grandpa, he kind of just pulled all over.
Mm-hmm.
I know when he was pulling with the United States Hot Rod, he pulled in every indoor dome in the United States. I mean, he was
Really?
pulling from Texas to Arizona to Florida, out to Colorado. He pulled everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I mean, it's kind of an odd number when they pulled because they really didn't know where they're gonna have venues at that point in time. But I do know my dad ran in '91. I'm gonna say it was around. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like 72 hooks in that year. They ran with two-wheel
Really?
drive truck. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. And people don't realize the amount of work that goes into it too when you're running 70 some hooks. I mean, that's
Yeah,
nonstop. That's pretty much your whole summer.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they were gone. I mean, my other two uncles, they ran the farm basically, and my dad and Pap, they went pulling. It was like 3 or 4 times a week. They were gone.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. So at what age was that then for you?
Uh, I wasn't even born because I was born in '97. So my
Okay.
dad ran that point series in '91.
Okay.
So yeah,
So that was before Colton.
yeah, that was before me, and that was before anyone else in the family realized that I'd be sucked into it as hard as I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So currently you're running a light pro. So the tractor was a limited pro before, or what was the
Yep, yep. It was
process of jumping up?
it was a limited pro A pump that we ran with Rick Fike at the Full Pull Productions before Richard Love bought it, and then we ran
Mm-hmm.
with Bob Blank in the Power Pulling Productions. So that was A pump 540 tractor. We took the A pump off, got a bigger head, and put the P pump on, bigger turbo, and now we're full light pro.
Okay. So what were some of the factors that led you to do that?
Um, it was kind of the factor of like I wanted to go pulling more. When I was growing up and I went pulling with my dad and grandpa, and I started pulling. I started with the East Coast pullers. East Coast, they're a real family atmosphere. Every time you go hook, you get fed. They provide food for you. It's basically just a super group of people that put on that organization, and it's so friendly. And then we never really had that with pulling the mod turbos and A pump tractors and limited pros. It was kind of always just show up, we pull, and we go home. You know,
Yeah.
there was no like good interaction with the people. You know, the organizations, nothing wrong with the organizations. It was just the East Coast just always kind of hit home as the more the family atmosphere of pulling rather than just showing up, hooking, and leaving. You know, you could go get there early, you can talk to other people, they feed you, you know, and then you can hook and go home. And it's, you know, it's always a better atmosphere of pulling.
Yeah. I think that's what pulling needs. I think you and I have talked about it before, but you know, that family atmosphere and getting the kids involved in the pits and, you know, let them sit on the tractor,
Yeah.
things like
Yeah,
that. It
100%. I
yeah,
mean,
it builds that
that makes
interaction.
it makes a 100% difference. The fan base is what makes pulling what it is. I mean, yeah, the pullers can spend the money, build great tractors, make crazy horsepower, and have fun. But it also takes the fans behind it and the interaction for us to be able to do what we do and to
Yeah.
make it succeed. I think that's where like your organization is trying so hard with the fan interaction, with the all the media and the events and what you're doing at the events, along the lines of like Beer Mind Pulling Team. Like he has such a broad spectrum of followers, and he's still promoting pulling 24/7. You know, all the time.
Hmm.
He's always going to pools, promoting people's pools, and I feel like you're stepping right in his shoes because I can't go a day without seeing a CS Pulling Promotions or CS Pulling Network, you know, post come up about something that has to deal with pulling. I mean, you're
Yeah.
always promoting the pulling side of the organization.
Yeah, and I think that's like you have to really balance that too with keeping the competitiveness with the sanctioning body and the production of the show while still having that fan interaction and advertising the events. And I think that's where a lot of these organizations they really fail because they'll provide the venue with pulling and it's just a competition. There's no entertainment at
Yeah.
all, and the ticket sales aren't. And I don't know. I think we've talked about this before, but like I'm not sure whether ticket sales are dropping or increasing, and as the sport as a whole, I think it's dying currently, and I think it's going to take things like the entertainment to bring it back.
Yeah, I think there are some venues that don't have the numbers they used to have with pullers and fans. And I think there's obviously, you know, you have your bigger venues like Louisville, Bowling
Yep.
Green, Chapel Hill, some of the bigger pulls that have that huge fan base, and they will never lose it because the amount of pullers that come into that venue is, you know, a huge number, and the people love the huge numbers. And you know, some of these county fairs around home, you know, you get low numbers of pullers just because, you know, some pullers are tied with farming or they're broke, they can't get parts, they can't be there. And then the fans go and watch, and you know, it's not what they expected. So then, you know, we lose our fan base.
Yep. Yeah, and I think a lot of pullers don't realize when you lose the crowd, that's ticket sale money that goes to pay for the show. So if you don't
It
have
really
fans
does.
in the stands, the purse is just going to drop. And
Yeah.
I think pullers, once they realize that, and we can all work together and really promote these shows and make them entertaining for the fans, bring fans back, and then we can afford to pay the pullers more to come in too.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all about the fan interaction. You have to have the fans there. The fans is what supports us to go pull. I mean, yeah, we're never gonna make our money back pulling. It'll never happen. Everyone knows that. But it's just the outcome of knowing that you can have a packed stands at a venue makes it much more worth it than going
Hmm.
somewhere and there's only 15 people in the stands and you're kind of like, well, was this actually worth it, or should we just stayed home?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because it costs a lot to get out and run every weekend.
Oh, and it really does. I mean, the feel for the tractor and the feel for the hauler to go back and forth to events, and it's not cheap anymore. And with the economy and fuel prices the way they are, I know a lot of people kind of put a halt in pulling because they just can't afford to go every weekend and pay the fuel prices. I mean, it really is hard.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what we talked with a lot of our sponsors, and we talked with a lot of our fairs about that situation. And it's like, numbers are dropping because we can't get guys out because of fuel prices. And
Yep.
luckily, all the venues that we go to, they all said, "Well, let's raise the purse for all classes." I think every class with us got a purse increase this year. And so you guys are up to $4,200,
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
a lot of these fairs stepped up and helped us out in that sense because they know how difficult it is too.
Yeah, and it really is difficult. I mean, it's awesome that the fairs will step up and help, help the promoter so that we can try to get more, um, vehicles and pullers to the venues, and then in hopes that they increases the fan base.
Yep. Yeah. Ticket sales are everything, and that's what fairs are working
Yep.
towards. So,
It really is. I mean, the fan base is 100% is pulling. That's what it is,
yeah.
and everyone
And
knows that. If you don't have the fan base, you don't have the money coming in. Pullers can't go to the pools, and they expect to at least get their field money back out of it. And if they can't do that, they're losing every way, and pretty soon they just get tired of going.
yep. And I think you guys are doing a good job too of building the fan interaction between the pullers and the fans, because you guys are doing the koozies, doing
Yep.
cards, the hero cards. I think
Yep.
things
Yep.
like that they really do help.
We have the hero cards. We pass a bunch of them out of Keystone to little kids and stuff, and kids love those. They can see the tractor, and then the parents can kind of read in the backside, like, okay, this is where this kid's from, this is who's pulling, this is what their sponsors are. And we have T-shirts, hoodies. We did stickers. Just a lot of in the koozies, like you said, just
Hmm.
stuff to try to interact with the fans more often, give them an opportunity to see more of what the pulling side is.
Yep.
The more posts I can make on Facebook, on my side and the tractor side of the events we're going to, videos of the tractor running, it just, I think, creates a way better fan base. And then, going to the pools, getting there early, letting the little kids come over, look at the tractor. If they want to sit in the seat, let them sit in the seat. That will make a kid's day. And the
Hmm.
parents are happy because the kid's happy. And then they're gonna go back next year because the kid's gonna be wanting them to go back next year so they can see a tractor again.
Yep. Yeah, and that was always the big thing. Like whenever I was a little kid, you'd go to Brookville to the Jefferson County Fair, and they'd bring out one of the tractors or trucks, and Rick Fike would always do an interview with one of them, and then you'd
Mm-hmm.
watch that, and then as a little kid, you're sitting there waiting all night until that tractor comes up because that's the only one you really know, and
Yep.
that was the one you got to see the interview for. So then everyone cheered on that tractor.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, I think like the driver to the fan base introductions. I think that's a real big key to see who's actually behind, to see who's pulling. I know Keystone did it. I know Louisville does it. Um,
Hmm.
that really, I believe, does make a difference. People can see, oh, that's the driver behind the tractor if they can't get to the pool soon enough to walk through the pits.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what we always encourage people. Check out the pits. Go meet the drivers. Have the kids go back and check out the vehicles. We tell families to do that all the time, and I think actually some of our venues this year are going to have open pits as well. So Weaklands is one of those venues where you
Yep.
can go walk right up and no extra charge. So a lot of those fairs they do have to charge a little bit more to get into the pits because of insurance reasons. But
Yes.
a venue like Weaklands, that's one of the benefits of going to Weaklands.
Yep, I mean, it's a great facility. He has so much room for parking for the haulers, the pullers, the spectators. It's all open pits. One cover price pays everything, and that gives the spectator such a better opportunity to go and see the pullers, talk to people, look at
Hmm.
different machinery that's there. I mean, because you have such a wide variety of different machines that are there, and it's
Yep.
cool to talk to the different drivers and the pit crews, and and ask them questions and pick their brains, and then people start to understand about pulling a little bit, and they
Yep.
start to see what we have to do as pullers to be able to go there to put on a show for them.
Hmm. Yeah, and Mike and his family they do a great job You go in and you can set up lawn chairs, and like you talked about the family atmosphere, and it really is a family
Yes,
atmosphere at Weaklands.
it really is. I mean, because it's all open. So I mean, people can walk from the track side back to the pullers. As soon as somebody runs on the track, they can go back to that guy's holler and tell him, "Hey, congratulations, that was a great run," you know. And then it's all lawn seating, and then people can sit there. They can, cook out, have fires. It's such a big family atmosphere at Weeklands. It really is, and I think that's one of the benefits of pulling at Weeklands all the time is having that open concept of everything is based off of family atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times the fans, they constantly want to go to the fairs, and sometimes they don't look at those outside venues like the one-off events like Weeklands, where sure there's not a carnival there, but for the
Yeah.
money, you're getting an incredible show.
And you really are. You really are. That's one thing that I think is starting to grow is people starting to see that outside venues that are not county fairs still can put on uh, very well ran organizational pools,
Hmm.
and I think those type of pools are starting to get bigger as the years go on.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, Weeklands is definitely the place to go because as far as one-off venues go, because I think they've got 2 or 3 shows this year, and then Oktoberfest. So they'll have
Yep.
us in there, and then Appalachian Outlaws. So and it's cool because he brings in all the different organizations too. Because like Appalachian Outlaws is bringing in the same vehicles as we are. So that's what
Mhm.
really is the benefit of doing that. And then of course Oktoberfest. That's probably going to be one of the biggest shows there.
Yeah. Oktoberfest is I think it's gonna be a really cool show. I know me and you talked about doing some cool things there and doing different ideas as the family atmosphere.
Hmm.
I think once we get all that organized, that's gonna be it's gonna be really nice for the pullers. It's yeah, it's in family atmosphere, but I think what we're trying to do is it's gonna be a lot more for the pullers, and I think that everyone's going to really appreciate that a lot more than just showing up and hooking and going home.
Yeah, and it's cool to see what the pullers do too for the cause because like we'll get Van Hazley out there, I'm sure. So a lot of the
Mhm.
top super stock diesel trucks will show up, and then I know with your class we're gonna run you at least once there, possibly twice throughout the
Yep.
weekend. And the super pro class, we're hoping to have 8 to 15 tractors potentially for that
Yeah, I
class.
mean, yeah, being in mid-October, I mean, people love to come out in the fall pools and pool, and that's the Make a Wish event, is it not?
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people, I mean, I know poolers love to go out and help for the Make a Wish. I know Mike Conley just did a huge pool in Louisville, and they wrote a check for Make a Wish for $50,000. I mean, that's
Hmm.
outstanding. I mean, we're probably not going to reach that level of Weaklands, but I mean, it's going to be cool to see what we can reach. I mean, it
Yeah.
comes to the pullers and the fans to donate and the pullers to help out, and it's nice to give back to Make a Wish and that types of organizations.
Yeah. Yep, definitely an event to check out, and I think we're going to be releasing more information on that soon. As soon as we sit down, figure out the classes. A lot of people don't realize the scheduling that goes behind this and the logistics. With this class is running here this night, so we can't run at this
Yeah.
venue, and but we try to work around everyone to make sure that we can get good numbers. And
Yeah, I mean, it really is hard because you have East Coast on the East Coast side, and you have NTPA
hmm.
throughout Ohio, and that in the Western side. And then you have New York pullers that run their own circuit in New York.
Yep.
Then you have Richard Love at Full Pool Productions that has Western PA, and you have Bob
Hmm.
Blank with PowerPoint Productions that has Western PA, and Interstate has the inner side of Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of pools that go on throughout the summer, spring and fall that all these different organizations have to kind of book around each other so they can try to get the most vehicles per event.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the big thing, trying to get the vehicles. It seems like anymore with fuel prices and everything, it is tricky.
And it is really hard. And I think, when people go and the fans are there and have good pays and good outcomes, people will show up.
Yep. Yeah, and good tracks. Everyone likes good tracks too.
No, yeah, you have to have good tracks. And I know like our class and the limited pros a little bit, we're making very good horsepower, and a lot of times it's hard to get that hook to the track. The track's not good. we can't really put on a good show for the fans because
Hmm.
we can't get hooked, we can't get tire speed, and we have to keep backing out of it. And I think it's tracks it's a lot to do, and it takes an organization to do the tracks.
Hmm.
It's not an easy job to show up to a county fair and expect a track to be perfect every time.
Yep. Yeah, and I think a lot of people, you try to tell them that because these county fairs, they're not only doing truck and tractor pulls, they're doing demolition derbies in the same track.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're doing horse racing, rodeos, monster trucks. It's like, so that track is changing every single day. And
Yes, it really is.
kudos to the fair board because it's a lot of work to change a track around. For the
Hmm.
monster trucks, they're building jumps for the rodeo. Sometimes they even
Yeah,
haul in dirt. It's a lot of work.
it really is for them, and the county fairs try to do as much as they can to bring in the spectators, and that's
Hmm.
that's how that's how they make their money is spectators. That's how they can help organizations like you and the other organizations to have big enough purse for us to come in is with the fans and spectators.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to be a building year as far as tracks go and helping these fairs because a lot of the fairs, they don't know how to build their own tracks. So, and luckily we have some guys behind us that do know how to do that.
Mhm.
So we can have them come in and build that track. And, I think it's one of those things where it just takes time. That's what a lot of this
It
stuff
really
is.
does. Creating a good, good fan base, and then a good, what I'm looking for, a good atmosphere and a good contact with that fair, and they turn around, they like what you're doing, they like how many people showed up, and then they'll have you back the next year, and then keep working in, and then next thing you know, it's a very big pool with a great track because they're gonna start putting forth the effort into making a good track because they know the numbers of the vehicles are gonna show up with a
Yep.
good track, and they're gonna have more fans, and it's just gonna be a snowball effect of great things in the future.
Yep. Yeah, I think over time it'll grow. So, and speaking of good events, let's talk a little bit about Keystone Nationals because that was not too long ago, and that was your first poll for 2023, right?
Yes, yep, that was our first no, that was our second hook for
Oh,
2023.
it was. Yeah, Shipshawana, right?
Yes. We pulled Shipshawana in January. Yep. We had a really good event out there. We took had some field issues in light pro class. We ran the 9,000 pound light pro, limited pro 4-1 combo class. We took fourth in the first flight out there, made it in the finals, took seventh overall out of 30 tractors. So we're pretty happy with that turnout.
Hmm.
Went back to the dyno, did some more dynoing, upgrade some parts, and then went to Keystone. Um, had a really good run going, and end of the run, we lost a fuel line, cracked the fuel line, lost some temperature in the one cylinder, but overall, I can't be mad at it. It was a very good run, and Forrester's put on an amazing show, and I think the track was a lot better than a lot of people expected it to be.
Hmm.
They actually did some really good job of working that up and getting that track. Uh, it was a very nice track, and I wasn't expecting it, and I had it in the wrong gear. I'm not gonna lie. That kind of killed me at the end of the track with the field line issue, but you'll have that in pulling. It's driver errors and happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, the one thing about it, next year you can go back and take that information and do better next year. So.
Oh yes, 100%. I mean, pulling it's a huge data collection game.
Hmm.
You go to events and venues, and you write down the data of the tractor. You write down the data of the track, what sled you were running, your tire pressure, where you had your weight, how much water you used, how much fuel you're set at. All that stuff. All those notes make a huge difference when you go back to that place. Next year or the year after, and maybe you changed one part or changed something here or change a turbo, and you're like, well, I don't know what to say to that. Let's go back to our notes. Okay, well, this is what we had here. We shouldn't be too far off. And you can kind of guide yourself off of your previous notes and data of those different tracks and kind of prepare yourself for the future of those tracks and your future events. I mean, data
Hmm.
collection is huge. I mean, I don't know anyone anymore that doesn't have a data logger on a tractor or a truck collecting all the data from the motor. You save all that in your computer and you write all that down, per event you were at. And next thing you know, you have a huge binder of data collection of different events and what the tractor did or what the truck did. Did the front end come up? Did it not come up? Did it hook the tires? Did it not hook the tires? What tires do we have on? Where was the air pressure? Where was our weight set at? So it's a different, so many different things that go into just making one run down the track that, like the fans don't realize, and the fans interact with you, you can explain some of that stuff and, that opens their eyes like, wow, like there's a lot more that goes into this than just, unloading the tractor off the trailer and pulling it down the track. So it's definitely a big data collection game and, computer reading and track reading to know your future events, your future information on pulling.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize actually how much information the data logger told you until I was back in the pits at Keystone with you after your pull, and you just plugged it right in. It shows you pretty much everything about the engine.
Oh yeah, it'll show you everything you want to know. The data logger I have actually it's maxed out in the ports, so I can get a bigger one. I mean, they will tell you your wheel speed. It'll tell you the ground temperature, your drive shaft, RPM. It will literally tell you anything about the tractor you want to know. I mean, there's a sensor you can put down like near your hitch, and it will tell you the temperature of the track from 0 to 300 feet. And it's crazy what you can do with technology in tractors these days.
Yeah. It's all, it's really interesting to see how technology has progressed and especially in tractor pulling, because like you said, you plug that thing in, you can see anything about the tractor, and for them to come out with that technology, it really does help the competitors.
Oh, and it really does. Because like it takes all the guessing game out. We didn't have a data logger for a long time, and we finally got one put on, and it's like when a problem happens, boom, read the data. What's the data say? Oh, that cylinder got cold. Well, that's why it fell on its face. That's why it wasn't running as strong as it did. That's why that boost dropped, or, something else happened, and it makes your life a lot simpler when you can see that stuff, how fast the turbo spinning. Well, the turbo dropped off 10,000 RPMs. Well, why did it do that? You look back at your cylinders, and your water pressure and all that stuff, Well, my cylinders got real hot. Why'd they get real warm? Oh, my water pressure went down. So obviously I wasn't getting enough water in the motor and my temperatures went up. So many different outcomes can happen from one little, hiccup in the motor, and that data logger will tell you immediately what's going on.
Yeah, because it would have been tricky to find your issue from Keystone if you didn't have that.
Yeah, and we noticed that the cylinder number one dropped about 400 degrees. I mean, it was below 1,000 degrees at the end of the run, and it should have been, well over 1,000 degrees at the end of the run. And, we didn't start it till we got home. We started it up in the trailer, backed it out of the trailer and sit outside for a minute, and it was just blowing fuel everywhere. And we weren't sure if it was the fuel pump or the fuel line, and took the fuel line off and pressurized it, and we found a crack at the bottom and got a new line made up and started back up, and our fuel problem was solved.
Yeah, we can watch your video from Keystone too. That way everyone can see the run.
Yeah.
Yes, you could
Yeah.
definitely see. I mean, it seemed like you had traction the whole way down through. I mean, your front wheels were up off the ground, but
Oh yeah.
just
It hooked. It hooked. I mean, tires were wrinkling. I mean, it did everything it's supposed to do, and just right there at the end of the track, the RPM started dropping real hard. That number one cylinder got cold, and that kind of just took our power away. I mean, and the data logger showed that our power went away. RPMs dropped. We dropped over 30 pounds of boost just from the middle of the track to the end of the track, and then that hurts you. So I mean,
yeah.
got everything fixed, got everything back together, and we got game plans, and we're gonna go to Tuckahoe in a couple weeks and see what we can do down there.
Yeah. What kind of changes did you make in the off season? I know you did quite a bit of work to the
Um,
tractor.
yeah. So basically, to start, changes we did um, last winter, we just wanted to change the roll cage and change a couple little things with the tractor. And I knew that we were going to light pro class, that we had to lose weight. And I knew the weight we were carrying on the front end wasn't as much as I needed to carry. So we were going to put the tractor on a diet, shave some weight, change some stuff around. And we started doing that. And next thing we know, we ended up building a whole brand new tractor, uh, built a whole new frame. We got a new rear end underneath it, new ring and pinion gears, a whole new differential. We got Atlas Max drop-in transmission. Put that in. Got a whole brand new Shipley built motor. Uh, got that together. Got on a dyno. It made great power. We put it in. Uh, our sponsors helped us with a lot of that stuff. Solandra Fuse, he helped us with all of our sheet metal. He was our sheet metal guy. He got all our sheet metal made, all the skirting made. So he really was a big help with all that. The sponsorship wise, part of the tractor building process. Um, Boyd Automotive, he helped me with all my paint. He did the paint for the fenders, paint for the roll cage, all my stuff they needed painted. That was my guy to go to. So it was really nice to have the sponsors behind me to help me um, do the things that they could help with as a sponsorship type. So then we built a whole new tractor. We went out and hooked last year. Before Ships of Wana, we changed injectors. We put bigger injectors in for Weimers. Got that taken care of. Then that was our fuel issue at Ships of Wana. The fuel lines didn't seat well in the injectors. They came loose, blew fuel everywhere, and I lost all my basically compression and everything in the motor, and the motor was not going to run with no fuel. So got that problem fixed. Ships of Wana ran good the next day and Saturday night, and then sorry there. And then ran good Saturday night, and we went back to the dyno at Shipley's. We put a bigger turbo on from Weimers, and then that's where we're sitting at now with the bigger injectors and bigger turbo on. We hooked a Keystone. Hoping we were supposed to do a little better, but it happened. So we'll see what we can do at Tuckahoe and a good outside, 300 plus foot track.
Yeah. So then you'll be there. Then you'll be back down there again. Then at Smithfield, and then Weaklands. Then where are you going to be the rest of the season?
Right after Weaklands, we'll hit the June 10th hook at NTPA down Waynesburg, and then we have Shippensburg June 30th and July 1st with East Coast. And then that's all I can remember for right now. That's just our first half of the season. We have right there roughly seven, 6 hooks already. So
yeah, that's the one thing about the light pro class. You guys can pretty much hook anywhere. You can run with NTPA, you can run with Pro Pulling League, us, and
yep, yeah. I mean, it's nice because we could hook from East Coast, and then Maryland or Virginia or Pennsylvania, and then we can turn around and we can hook with you in Western PA. And then we can turn around, we can hook NTPA in Ohio, and we can even keep going out, and hook with the Outlaws in Nebraska or Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
We can travel all over and hit the Silver Series with Pro Pulling League, and hit Kentucky, Missouri, and all those hooks. So in the light pro class, it's kind of the great aspect of it is we can go anywhere we want.
Mm-hmm.
We can go across the nation.
Yeah, you really can. And for the people that don't realize, you want to explain a little bit of the difference between like a super farm, a limited pro, and a light pro?
Yeah. So Super Farm, they're allowed 640 cubes, and then they're allowed P pump, which I believe I'm not 100% sure on their limitations of P pump. But then they can have a 3x3 turbo or 3x4 or whatever that organization calls for. Um, so then they're obviously running less horsepower but way more torque. With the higher cubes in the motor, they can run more torque. Um, with a higher weight, that's how they can kind of compete with the limited pros, with the weight difference and the light pros. So the mod turbos, limited pros, and the Western PA side, it is A pumps, 540s. You can have a recast head, has to be within a half inch of OEM dimensions. Then other than that, uh, that's basically it for the limited pros. They can run the A pump and as big as turbos they want inlet, and it has to be a 4.5 exhaust. And that's the same for the light pros. Light pros can be as big as the intake they want in the intake wheel, the turbo, but we're only limited to a 5.4 exhaust or 4.5 exhaust. Sorry. Um, and then the light pros compared to the mod turbos and limited pros, we're allowed a P pump, P700 with 16 millimeter is the max we're allowed to be, and then we're also allowed to have an inch taller head. So the inch taller head, we can flow a lot more air. We can run bigger turbos, but then the restriction on the exhaust side kind of puts you in a tight spot because you can't really get much more air in the motor because you can't get it back out. So everyone's kind of fine tuning where they want to be with the 4.5 exhaust, and that's about our limitation with the light probes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of those guys in the limited pro class, they're finding out that if you go too large on the turbos, you're actually hurting yourself. And I'm guessing that's probably the case with your class too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of noticed in our class, the bigger turbos you go, they're a lot harder to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And driving aspect means like coming off the line, if the track's not really that great and you have to back out of the throttle a little bit or wait until you can get full throttle, a lot of those bigger turbos don't like that. They want the power and they want it right now, and you have to stay wide open, or they just won't perform like you want them to do. The smaller turbos, a lot of guys have noticed they can turn them a lot harder. They can run them a lot harder. And the end of the track, they can keep those little turbos spinning a lot harder than a bigger turbo. And that's where a lot of guys like the little turbos, because you can spin them a lot harder end of the track and keep that momentum in the motor and keep that power up. And that's where you need it at the end of the track.
Yeah. And at Keystone, your RPMs, I mean, they dropped the end of the track and you were still running fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were down to 3,500 RPMs into the track, and
Wow.
everything still stayed up. And I was kind of surprised because that's pretty for a light pro tractor to be down at 3,500 RPMs. That's pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. I mean, I normally run between 4,500 and 5,000 RPMs down the track. That's where it seems to be the most comfortable. That's where it seems to run the best. So that's where we like to kind of keep it. Yeah, and it dropped it down to like 3,500 at Keystone, and everything stayed alive. And now I'm surprised, but you lose RPMs, you're gonna lose wheel speed, you're gonna lose boost, and everything kind of just slowly stops at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be cool to see how you guys run this year. There'll be a lot of
Yeah,
tough tractors too in your class, so you'll have
yeah,
good
we're excited.
competition.
Yep, I know. I talked to Beasley's, and they said they're going to Tuckahoe. So right there, if they bring all three, right there, we got three tractors that are top contenders. So then
Mm-hmm.
and you have Kevin Nutt. And then obviously the Smith guys, you get Smokey and his brother, they're going to bring them forwards too. And so they're always, a team that everyone's gunning for all the time, because they're the ones to beat,
Yeah.
it's that. And then you got Fred and Paul Hoke out there in Shippensburg. Them two tractors are really good, and they're really exceeding their expectations. I feel like they never thought that they would be in this caliber of performance, and they're doing amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that they are. So where can people find more information about the tractor and where you run?
Yeah. So we have a Facebook page, the Steel City Smoker Light Pro Pulling Team. It's on Facebook. I share a lot of stuff on my side with the pulling from the Facebook page. Facebook page has all the information, our next event, our next pulls, results. I know me and you are working on a website.
Yep.
We're going to get that finished up, and then that's going to have all of our bio information about our family, our pulling history. It's going to have a list of our events, locations, and times, so people know where we're hooking, what time it starts, and then we're going to have results and kind of like a blog page, kind of like the same thing as a Facebook post. So people that don't have Facebook, so they can get on the website and look, kind of keep everybody in the loop as much as possible, so that way everyone can understand, what's going on at the pools, where we're going, who's putting it on. So just kind of trying to cover all of our bases to get all the fans, interacted and knowing what's happening.
Yep. Yeah, so for everyone watching and listening, check out Colton Zundel and the Steel City Smoker pulling team. You'll see him with East Coast and also CS pulling promotions all season. So, well, thanks for taking the time to come on with us, Colton.
Well, thank you, Chase. I mean, I'm glad to be a part of the point series with CS Point Promotions this year. I mean, I think it's amazing what you're doing, and the venues that are actually taking us on, and the purse we have, it's crazy. And to thank Weaklands for the end of the year championship payout points purse. I mean, I know, like you said, we're already well over $5,000 with the Super Pro class points payout, and that's amazing. And then the $4,200 purse on top of every event. It's really an amazing opportunity you're giving us, and especially with the light pro guys. There's really nowhere to pull around Western PA for light pros. We have to go to East Coast or Ohio, so it's a great opportunity that we can have a lot more hooks closer to home and have our sponsors go and fans can go and watch us pull. It's a great thing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, and like you say, Weaklands did really step up too with the championship points fund, and can't thank them enough. We'll be at their venue a couple times this year. Your class will be there 2 or 3 times, and yeah, so like to thank them as well. But I'm sure you'll be back on too here shortly. I'm guessing when the season starts, we can probably get on and do another one. So
yeah, get a couple hooks in. Season starts, we can go on and do another one and kind of keep everyone updated on how things are going.
Yep. So thanks a lot for coming on, Colton.
No problem. Thank you, Chase.